it's going to blow the budget into oblivion.
What frontier economics modelling shows is the actual cost of Labor's plan will be $642 billion. Over 5 times more expensive Anthony Albanese and Chris Bowen are engaging in one of the most scandalous con jobs ever attempted on the Australian people.
Joining me now is Liberal MP Garth Hamilton. Garth, thanks for joining me. This is a lot of money for a renewables-only experiment that has never been achieved anywhere in the world.
$600 billion. It still won't keep the lights on 24/7. It's going to require some kind of power backing that up. And it still doesn't make energy prices any cheaper for Australians. This is an extraordinary situation for the government to find itself in. I can't help but point out this is a government that celebrated a $15 billion surplus off the back of mining and resources. And we now find out there's $500 billion they didn't account for with their renewables-only plan. Look, as bad as this looks for Chris Bowen, I think it is worth pointing out the massive failure that sits with Jim Chalmers here, who's tried to claim throughout this term of government some kind of economic credentials, as if he's been, uses that word restraint, as if he has some kind of, conservative economic backbone. He simply doesn't, neither does this government. They've been throwing money away. This is a terrible, terrible situation for us to find ourselves in. And I'm very grateful that I'm part of a coalition that's bringing forward a very different proposition to the Australian people.
Yeah, and you're right, we are still waiting for that $275 to actually reduce our power bills. Instead, it's going in the opposite direction, Garth, as predicted. Now, I want to ask you about the National Australia Bank because it's become the first major lender to push back its forecast of an interest rate cut to May. Garth, the RBA has already warned Labor about its spending and it's been totally caught out by government spending. How hard will it be for Labor to win a second term if they go to an election without a rate cut, do you think?
Look, you may be right. It may well make things harder for Labor. I think they're making it hard for themselves with other issues like the misinformation bill, quite frankly. But I'll tell you one thing, it will definitely make harder, and that's the lives of regular Australians dealing with this cost of living crisis. My sympathies simply aren't with the Labor Party. My sympathies are with mums and dads out there who've had to make tough decisions for a long period now. And as they look ahead, that light at the end of the tunnel is just pushing back further and further. It's disappearing. We'd heard the Treasurer tell us many times that things were going to get better. The Prime Minister told us that we were through the worst of it. These things don't appear to be true. The fact is the economy's bogged. Inflation is going to stay higher for longer. And the longer it stays outside of that band of 2 to 3%, the more pain we're going to feel across the nation. That's mortgage costs continue to stay high. That's the cost of groceries are high. The ability for young people to get into housing, to save money, that's gone. Look, the forecast is for more pain, and sadly, that's just not where we need to be right now.
No, it's a really difficult situation. It doesn't seem like it's going to get any better soon. Before we let you go, I've got to ask you about a new poll that's found Townsville is the most popular choice for the capital of a North Queensland state with support for breaking away from the South. Also, the strongest there, Garth. What is going on? You're a proud Queenslander. How would you feel about a breakaway, perhaps, and making Townsville the capital?
Look, I have spoken to the King of Townsville, Phil Thompson. I've never heard it up there, a regular on Sky. His only concern is making sure that he doesn't end up with Kevin Rudd as the ambassador to a new country. I think we're going the wrong way. I don't think we should be making less of Australia. Look, let's find some other countries to take over. Let's go the other way. Let's grow. Maybe a bit of New Zealand, that's nice. Fiji, been there. It's great fishing out that way. No, look, I can't take this one too seriously for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm shocked. You don't want to keep expanding and expanding and expanding. Garth Hamilton, good to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening.